And the Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game 1.
All right, really, no one prayed for the Indiana Fever. ESPN pundits simply dismissed them. The odds makers were virtually giggling. And even the Las Vegas Aces, the two-time champs, anticipated a complete whitewash. However, on the home court of the Aces, the Heat startled everyone by winning Game 1 on the same night that its star A'ja Wilson was named MVP. With just one victory, how did a squad that was without 6 players completely change the course of the series? What did Caitlin Clark say to her teammates following the game that has the entire league talking? Stay with us, because this was a seismic message rather than just a random upset. If you're as enthusiastic about as passionate as we are, let us know in the comments how proud you are of this amazing team. What happens then when a club enters the playoffs with 6 important players out and no experts providing them with a true shot, and the two-time defending champions are poised to strike? You are given the final test of, unfortunately for the Indiana Fever, a night that was supposed to be someone else's coronation, but managed to transform into their memorable moment in spite of all the obstacles.
Particular matchup, Aces Fever, Game 1. We're not deciding the whole series right now, just Game 1.
Should we do it together?
I think we should do it together,
Okay.
because my spidey sense are telling me they might be the same. 3, 2, 1.
Aces.
They're not gonna lose after she just won MVP.
Yeah, period.
There's no
Everyone presented this series as a complete mismatch right from the start, don't they? ESPN panels are essentially referred to as sportsbooks had absurdly skewed odds, and it was brief and predictable. IT was actually simpler to place a wager on the number of points by which Las Vegas would defeat Indiana and win the series. Even the headlines prior to the game cried out for IT, that IT was survival, not victory, that they discussed that IT was anticipated that the Aces would easily go to another finals. And it was very evident what was being implied. If Indiana was able to avert complete disgrace, that in and of itself would be regarded as a triumph.
Yes.
Indiana Fever had no business winning a playoff series this year, had no business advancing to the semifinals for the first time in a decade, and yet here they are, eliminating the Atlanta Dream in Atlanta without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Sid Colson, without Erin McDonald, without Chloe Bibby. The hospital squad is on the bench, and yet the Indiana Fever are into the semifinals of the WNBA play.
The injury report followed. As if that weren't plenty, a harsh collection of names that included Caitlin Clark's sideline, Damaris Dantes, Ari McDonald, Chloe Bibby, Sydney Colson, and Sophie Cunningham are also absent. 6 names vanished. The team appeared to be held together by duct tape rather than just missing a few guys. This was much more than being the underdogs. They were being referred to as fortunate to be standing atop the court, as though before the playoffs even started, their season had already unofficially ended.
And then the coaching of Stephanie White. She is working with a 9-woman rotation, and 5 of those players did not even touch the court the last time the Fever played the Dream during the regular season, and 3 of those players weren't even on the team. I cannot say it enough. The Indiana Fever should not be here. They continue to be here. They battle. They're resilient. It's wildly impressive. Caitlin Clark wore the black Air Force Ones again. They had one of those forces lifted in the air like a beacon of hope, and now they'll face the Aces.
Imagine this sight just before tip-off in Las Vegas. The crowd was buzzing. Championship flags were flying high, prepared for a huge celebration, followed by the main event, center court honoring A'ja Wilson with her MVP award. This represented the complete story and went beyond simply recognizing her extraordinary intelligence. Everyone anticipated. Indiana was reduced to a supporting role, while Vegas was the undisputed powerhouse. In their own semi-final final debut, the Fever's players were not only disregarded, but they were essentially invisible.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what, we'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
But here's the funny thing about sports. They have this amazing ability to completely change the course of events. When the strictest expectations are in place, consider all those incredible underdog victories throughout history. Teams that were written off before they ever on the court, teams that nobody believed should be on the same team. The floor, these same analogies were simmering right here. This wasn't merely the beginning of a series in the playoffs. Game 1 was Indiana's one and only opportunity to take a seat at the table and loudly indicate that they were prepared to battle. And the whole pre-written story was completely destroyed by the last beep, the focus on AJ Wilson's MVP. The moment abruptly faded because the Fever had stolen it all, leaving Las Vegas with. The entire basketball world was stunned by their 89-73 victory, which was their first semifinal triumph in nearly 10 years. However, the team as a whole wasn't the true surprise. Rather, it was one particular player who transformed that evening into her. One's own masterpiece.
Respect everyone, fear no one. Woo! Down to the chat! Oh! Dumb. That's one.
As A'ja Wilson raised the MVP trophy, literally everyone's eyes were on her, but nobody, anticipated that Kelsey Mitchell would appear out of nowhere and totally alter the narrative. Wilson was meant to own it. Night, the reigning champs handling business at home with ease, the story already neatly. Before the ball even tipped, it was written Mitchell, however, was adamant on making Indiana more than a footnote. By the time the final buzzer sounded, she had turned the semi-final opener into her own work of art. The entire league's discourse had already undergone a significant change.
First semifinal appearance, just what's your emotional state right now?
Normal, I think. Just practice, try to prepare like anybody else would, like any other day. But keep the main thing, that's all you can do.
Without a question, Chelsea Mitchell has always been regarded as a top scorer. To be honest, though, she is frequently described as nearly an afterthought behind some of the WNBA's more prominent and ostentatious names. Prior to this series, A'ja Wilson was the talk of the town, maintaining her power, or if Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young were to totally defeat the Fever, or even if Indiana could just remain on the ground. Mitchell was the only player being discussed by a very small number of people who might genuinely change this contest. But as she has done for so much of her career, she provided the ideal response by letting her game speak for itself, outshining any expectations or murmurs in the vicinity. Her.
Tell your younger self.
Yeah.
How would you explain to her to make sure that you give yourself grace and give you the flowers that you so willingly deserve?
Ooh, I think the best thing I could have done was, I had a long list. I wrote down a list of all the times I could have quit, been a pro, playing with the Indiana Fever. I wrote down all the people that wrote me off. I wrote it down on a list. I wrote down all the coaches that didn't want me around. I wrote down all the media outlet that didn't want to talk to me. I think that within itself is like, you got to tell your younger self not to give up on you. Because it's been a lot of times I could have given up when I know a lot of people that talk to me now wasn't talking to me, and I know what it was like when they wasn't. So that part is big for me.
Not only did Mitchell score, but she did it in every conceivable way. With defenders surrounding her, she was struggling through screens and sinking mid-range pull-ups. Then, if the Aces afforded her even a moment of room, she hammered deep threes, and here's the thing, she made every free throw, completing a flawless 6 for 6 from the line. She appeared completely invincible from the inside, the exterior, and all points in between. She had accumulated an incredible 34 points on 12 for 23 shooting by the time the final box score was announced. From the field, making a perfect shot at the charity stripe and going for 6 from beyond the arc. Not only was it effective, but it was unrelenting.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
For Mitchell, the 34-point outburst wasn't just a huge game, it was truly historic. Really, not only had no Fever player scored more than 30 points in a postseason game since 2012, but nobody in WNBA history had ever dropped that many in their first ever semifinal match. Mitchell's performance is now appropriately sits next to icons like Cynthia Cooper and Lauren Jackson, but it really goes one important. She broke their record, so they went one step farther. For a moment, consider that during her postseason. And make their debut at this top level, facing the current champions head-to-head. The spotlight was glowing the entire time. She made a name for herself in the record books during an MVP celebration.
He's done that. 5-point advantage for Indy. Trying to go inside. Terrific defense by Mitchell to deny Lloyd. It's Mitchell, guarded by Evans. Screen from Turner. Kelsey Mitchell knocks down another shot.
No one is accountable for Hall.
It's Mitchell. Come on.
And you know what? Caitlin Clark and other spectators felt the overwhelming weight of that performance. Due to an injury, Clark's response was straightforward yet immensely impactful. Just 2 words were shot across. Kelsey, social media, unbelievable, and complex words. No overanalyzing, simply pure, unadulterated respect. From the star sophomore to the seasoned veteran who genuinely carried them through the most crucial moments, it was evident. Unquestionable indication of Mitchell's importance to the club and the extent to which her colleagues appreciate her influence.
So who's going to step up and how can the Aces find an edge?
Another good cut to the basket, this time by Turner.
The Las Vegas Aces are running out of time because the Indiana Fever making passes with That's right.
Boston. Triple team kicks it out. Kelsey Mitchell.
After the game, even Aces head coach Becky Hammond, who is undoubtedly not one to give praise lightly, had to acknowledge that they simply couldn't respond to Mitchell. Just that acknowledgement demonstrated how fully she took possession of almost everything that evening. This wasn't a coincidence or a case of good fortune. Mitchell was at the top of her game, demonstrating once and for all that she belongs in every one discussion on the most dangerous guards in the league.
But you can start on the defensive end. I mean, clearly we had no answer for Mitchell. Couldn't even attempt to slow her down a little bit. I thought it was really poor. Really poor.
This could not have been more symbolic, could it? A'ja Wilson was crowned on the same floor. Kelsey Mitchell was assertively claiming her position as the league's MVP, almost as if she were declaring, "Hey, we also have a very valuable player, and she's killing it in red, blue, and yellow tonight for careers." Yes, but more than that, her 34 points demonstrated Indiana's blatant disobedience and reluctance to embrace a supporting part in this narrative. Mitchell's amazing reaction wasn't the only reason the Fever triumphed. In fact, it helped them discover who they were, and a single score was undoubtedly not the end of that identity. The entire team, with their oppressive defense and unrelenting hustling, was the true heartbeat of this entire upset. Its amazing depths come together to utterly confound the champions in every way. Everyone anticipated that Las Vegas would have complete control over the paint and use their bulk to intimidate the Fever inside. Strength as well as that MVP presence. However, Indiana changed course and made defense and tempo their Weapon, controlling the one sector that virtually no one believed they could win, that IT wasn't just resistance that emerged. It appeared to be a detailed guide for dissecting their